So as many of you know if you've been around on the channel for a while, is that I've been gaming pretty much my whole life. But if there's one time in my life to rival kind of the collecting period that I am at with the Nintendo Switch, it would have to be the Nintendo DS. So I got my DS Lite back, I was maybe 9-ish, I don't remember, sometime in elementary school, and it became one of my favorite handhelds of all time. It's the console that so many people I knew had, even if they weren't really gamers, and it was just kind of a big unifying thing between a lot of friends. Memories of playing PictoChat on the bus on the way to a field trip, or playing with my cousins every time they came to visit and trading Pokemon. Just so many special memories with this console. And I wanted to go through my Nintendo DS game collection with you all today, and that is the topic of our video. Hi everybody, my name is Alex, aka Quality, and welcome back to the channel. I've been wanting to do another collection video for so long since I did my Nintendo Switch one, which if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But I just couldn't decide what console to do. Like nothing is as big as my Switch collection. That is definitely like the collection that reigns supreme over all others. And then my DS is probably next in line. I have a decent crop of DS games. DS kind of felt like the most natural step, being kind of the second biggest collection. Plus, you all voted for that to be my next video, so here you go, I'm delivering. So similar to the Switch video, we'll go through my console, some accessories that I have, and then all of the games, though in this one, we're doing something a little bit different. So when we get to the games, I'm actually going to start by talking about games that I had in my collection and then lost somehow, as well as games that I have that are incomplete. The reason I'm doing this is because I've had a collecting reawakening, which is dangerous for my wallet, but it's going to make me really happy. I really want to kind of start collecting more games that I missed out on, specifically in the DS era. When I was buying 3DS and Wii U games, it was just kind of, it was really fun. It was really, really fun. And I've just been going to more retro game stores recently and just thinking like, man, you know, I wanna foster some of these collections and not like have a full collection because I don't have that much money or that much space, but buying games that I really wanted that I missed out on, or games I've always been curious on, and stuff like that. So I kind of want to go through, you'll kind of see some things that I need to complete or rebuy, because those are my first priorities, is kind of refilling the collection that I had as a kid. So that's my goal. So I thought that'd be kind of an interesting talking point. But before we get to the games, let's talk about my consoles. So I only have one DS. I got into the DS train when the DS Lite came out. So I was obsessed with the idea of the DS Lite. I knew a few people that had normal DSs, but we were still kind of in the Game Boy Advance zone. But once the DS Lite came out, I feel like that really made a big difference in how people approached it. It has a little bit sleeker of a design, of course. It's really just nice and clean. It's a good console. I really, really like it. And as much as I love the original DS design, when I think of DS, I always think of the Lite. And I think that's the association that a lot of people have as well, because I think more people might have had the Lite. It kind of felt like it was separating itself from the Game Boy Advance line and into its own handheld. And that's how I felt about this. So, funny story. So I have the pink one, which if you know me personally, you know I'm not a very big pink fan. I like the color a lot more now that I'm an adult. But at the age where I got my DS Lite, I didn't like pink at all. So why did I want the pink DS? I still don't know. I honestly don't know. But I wouldn't accept any other color of DS. I had wanted a DS Lite for so bad. And so I had asked for it for my birthday. And unfortunately, every other kid asked for a DS for Christmas and their birthday, because my birthday's in January, so there's a lot of overlap. So I really wanted the pink one though. I was like, I want to be different, I want to be unique, and I guess that was my whole reasoning. I really don't know. But it wasn't anywhere to be found. No DSs were anywhere to be found. So my mom researched and researched and researched where to get me a DS. And you know where this DS came from? Circuit City. I don't even know if Circuit City is still around, but it was kind of like a big box electronics store from what I can remember. I never even went in a Circuit City, but it was online from Circuit City. It was the only DS they had, and it was the exact color, and then it was mine. And then it was mine. And this DS has been with me for so long. I'm gonna put a little picture of me playing my DS as a kid. I look really dorky, but hey, that's all right. Always a gamer, always a gamer. But yeah, this DS meant the world to me. I loved my Game Boy Advance SP, but this was just so special. I felt so cool. I felt so with the times, which is so funny to say because I was like 9, I think. I just felt so trendy. And I played this thing every day, every single day, and I loved it so much. Mine is, which I'll do another kind of zoom in. It's a little scratched up, but honestly, I don't think it's that bad, all things considered. The one thing is, which I've noticed happen with a lot of other DSs, because the top is a bit more glossy, this colors more than the top does. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a very different shade of pink, when once upon a time, I'm pretty sure they were the same color pink, but it's aged differently. But I really love this thing. Mine still works great. I booted it up. There's a game in there. I'm pretty sure Pokemon Diamond's in there. Let's see. Yeah, it's Diamond. Every time I pull this console out, I get so nostalgic of so many wonderful, precious memories, and I love it. I love it so much. I love my DS. In terms of accessories, I used to have a lot more, and we'll talk about those too, but let's start out with the stylus. So of course I have the 2 coral pink stylus that came with it, and then this white one that I'm pretty sure I stole from my cousin who had the white DS Lite. Otherwise, I don't know where it came from, but these are my 3 stylus. Unfortunately, let me get the console back. My stylus holder doesn't hold stylus anymore. And now the only other accessory I really have is my main DS case. So this is the main case that I've always used for my DS Lite. I'll open it up in a second. It's got a little rope and a little clip right there, which is kind of nice. And then inside it's got little straps to keep your DS in there, and then a pouch at the top that has quite literally all of my physical games that I have in here, minus a few that we'll get to in a second. I never as a kid wanted to keep my games in the boxes. As much as I kept the boxes, I didn't really want them in there. I wanted them all in one place. So this was where they all went, was in this case. And as you can kind of see, it's very ripped right here. That's not open, that's really ripped. And you know, sometimes that happens. I definitely overstuffed it because I used to try to keep my charger in there too, and then I had to stop. The charger I didn't bring out, but it's just a normal standard DS Lite charger, the little kind of brownish gray one. I have 2 of them, but I don't know where the second one went. Now, I did have 2 other DS cases, which if I can find a picture, I'll put them on the screen. But the first one was I actually got as part of a bundle very early on when I had my DS that my grandma bought me, where it came with 2 games and a case. And the case itself was not good. It was like this weird foam case that didn't close at the top. I think maybe there was like a Velcro strap at the top. And it had a picture of Mario, or I think there might have been other ones that you could pick. But at the time that I was doing it, Mario was the only one available. And it was just something that I think it was only attached to, like, not even really a lanyard, but kind of like a rope like this. And that's all it was. It was not very sturdy. There's no room for games. It was literally just like a little slip cover for your DS. I hope I can find a picture of it because it's really weird. And I think I've seen it in my house in like past years, but I don't know where it went. I really don't. And I would try to look for it, but that would involve going down into the basement, and the basement is a little terrifying. The other case I had, which this one I'm still really heartbroken about, is the Pokemon Platinum pre-order bonus case that has Giratina and Shaman on it, which we've got more on that later too, but I got that. And that case I never used because I wanted it as a collector's item, and like I was kind of partial to the case that I was using, and then I have no idea what happened to it. I don't know if I gave it to a friend instead of a moment of kindness where I was like, I'm gonna give you a video gaming gift, but I'm a child who has no money, so take what I have, which is very nice of me, but also I regret it if that's what happened. But I also think it's more likely that I would have just lost it again somewhere in my house. It could be where that other DS case is as well, but I haven't seen that longer than the other ones, so I have no idea what would have happened to it. But it's a really, really, really cool case. I'd love to rebuy it at some point in time. I think I remember looking it up on eBay. I don't know how much it was, because there was another Giratina and Shaman case. I'm pretty sure the other case had Giratina and land form Shaman, I'm pretty sure. And then the pre-order one has the origin form Giratina and the sky form Shaman. I'm pretty sure. I could have that backwards, but we'll see in a little bit. So hopefully I will find and rebuy those cases again someday. But otherwise, I didn't have a lot of accessories for my DS. I did not accessorize a whole ton, partially because I just shoved everything in the one case and said that was good. So that's kind of where we lead into our next topic of the games. So to start with, the 2 games that I'm putting in the game graveyard of my collection, unfortunately. They're two good uns, and I'm pretty sure the same fate befell both of them. The first one is Pets, Wild Animals, Dolphins. I know, it sounds dumb, but I loved that game. It was so weirdly cute. And the whole point of it was like you were working at like a SeaWorld type place. You were taking care of the dolphins and learning about dolphins and stuff like that. And that was very heavy in my marine biology era of my life. So I loved it. I absolutely loved that game. And honestly, it was pretty fun. Like, it was taking care of the animals. It was playing games with them. I really, really liked it. And there's a lot of Pets games on the DS. Pets in terms of the brand, and also Pets just in terms of animals on the DS. But this was one that, aside from Nintendogs, really spoke to me in a weird way. I played a lot of it, and I'm pretty sure that I gave that game to my younger cousin for Christmas the year that she got her 3DS, so that way she had a good game to play. And I have a lot of grievances about that as well. But more grievances than that is I also had Animal Crossing Wild World, and I loved Wild World. I really, really did. Though, weirdly enough, I think I was more into City Folk just because City Folk was the newer game, so I felt like, oh, it's more relevant. Same deal, except it went to my other cousin, her brother, who also got a 3DS that Christmas. And I don't know why I didn't do the mean older cousin thing and give them just like really bad games instead of like good games, but I wanted them to kind of get into gaming so that way I had more people to play with, because I played with my older cousins on the other side of the family, but I wanted to, you know, build the youngins up to be gamers as well. And it worked for one of them, but not so much on the Nintendo side of things, which is fine. But I still just can't believe I gave away Animal Crossing. So that is number one of my rebuy list right now, is to buy Animal Crossing. I'd love to get it complete. Again, Wild World is great. It's so funny, and I just really want it. I just really want it again, but I need to find a good price for it first. So that's the goal with that. Now we have a tiny stack of incomplete games, which also, another big difference from the Switch collection video is I actually put everything in nice piles that you can't see. And I did that so that way it wasn't just a catastrophic mess like the last one was. First, we'll do the games that I still have the boxes for, but don't have the games for. And first up is one of the ones that I probably care the least about, but it's Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. And so this game came with that really bad Mario case. This was one of the two. And I think I played it a little bit. I was a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan as a kid, as I think many people were. Yeah, it's not a good game. It has off-brand Johnny Depp voice actor, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I really played more than like 20 minutes of this game, but I have it, and if I can find it for like $2, why not? I'll rebuy the physical copy of it. Next up is one that I put in my garage, and I don't know why. I had every intention to sell this game, and I don't know why. And that is Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. Again, missing the game, which is weird because I feel like I just saw the game somewhere in my house not that long ago, but it could have just been at a random game store. And yeah, I really liked Lego Star Wars. I had a whole pile of DS and Wii shovelware-like games that I had in my garage to sell at a garage sale, and then that garage sale never happened. And for whatever reason, this was out there with it, and I don't know why, because I really liked this game. This was a birthday present, I think, for my grandparents. And yeah, I like Lego Star Wars. I don't play a lot of Lego games now, but this was kind of my first intro to the Lego video games, and I liked it. Plus, I like Star Wars, so this would be a great one to rebuy. I see it go anywhere from like sub $5 to like $10, so I don't think it'd be that hard. The nice thing is in order to complete a lot of these, I have the manuals. I was really good at keeping manuals for DS games, and I will always be grateful for that because that makes the process of recompleting a lot of these a lot easier. And now, my higher priority game that I have the case for and need to rebuy the game for is Harvest Moon Sunshine Islands. So we'll get to my Harvest Moon games later, but this was the last Harvest Moon game that I got on the DS. It wasn't the last one that came out for the DS, but it was the last one that I picked up for the DS. I was kind of over Harvest Moon for a little bit at that point in time, mostly because Sunshine Islands and its predecessor Island of Happiness weren't great, but Sunshine Islands was better than Island of Happiness. So I really liked this game, and I lost it at my grandparents' house. I don't know where. I scoured everything because I knew it was missing right away. It was the same visit that I had like brought it to their house that I knew it was missing, and I just could never find it again. Never, ever, ever. So this is a top priority rebuy game. And I don't know, I liked this one better. It felt more like a complete idea than Islands of Happiness. I had a thing as a kid for blonde-haired rich boys in anime and video games. And this one had a new bachelor who fit all of those categories. So, you know, this one was just a better game in my opinion. So that's top priority to rebuy. And then two games that I actually need to buy the case for, which I think can either be easier or more difficult than buying just the game or a complete copy, is Brain Age 2, which this was not my game. This was not my game, this was my grandpa's game. So my grandpa, when he got really sick a few years before he passed away, he got a DS just so he had something to kind of play. And this was one of the games in his collection. I have no idea what happened to the case. I don't even know how I ended up with the game itself. I think maybe my grandma found it and was like, you can have it. So I'd love to buy a case for this just so I can put it on the shelf as well. And then a more important game for a lot of the same reason is Professor Layton and the Diabolical Box. My favorite Professor Layton game of all time. This series is so important to me for the same reason that Brain Age was. So when he got sick, as I said, we ended up getting him a DS. He got a lot of games and he loved puzzles. So my grandma tried the Professor Layton series on him and he really liked it. He really liked it. And I had always heard about Professor Layton, but I hadn't really dove into the series. It just wasn't what I was into. And then he was like, oh, come help me with this puzzle. So I did, and that was great. And it was just so fun. And so we played the whole game together, and then I got Diabolical Box, which, without spoiling the story, Diabolical Box is extremely emotional. And I still cry to this day because this was the last video game we kind of really played together and had those moments, which Curious Village was the first. I'll talk more about my thoughts on Curious Village later, but Diabolical Box, I think because of how so much more emotionally heavy the story was in Diabolical Box and just how much more expanded the world of Professor Layton felt, this one was really, really special to us. So I just remember sitting up north, playing this game together, and it was really special. So this is my favorite Professor Layton game. I need to get the box. Unfortunately, I lent this game to some past high school boyfriends and I never saw the box again. I'm grateful that I got the game back, but I never found the box ever again. So I want to find a case with the manual for this because this game means the world to me. It means the absolute world to me. So Diabolical Box. And now we move on to the stacks of complete in-box games. So we're gonna start with the stack that's kind of more shovelware-y, didn't really play a whole ton kind of games. But this first one is also a really special one. I think that's one thing that I love about my DS collection is there's so many memories associated with each game. But this is actually my most recent pickup for the DS, and it is Nancy Drew, The Mystery of the Clue Bender Society. I haven't played this, but my friend in college got this for me. I'm a really big fan of the Her Interactive Nancy Drew games. I played them all growing up, and I really, really love the series. I played all of them except for the most recent one because it was not good and I saw enough gameplay to make me not want to do it. But my friend knew that and was like, I'm gonna pick up the DS game for her. But I'm just so glad she did. It was so considerate and I really, really appreciate it. At some point in time I do want to play it. I don't know if it's an actually good game, but I think it's one of those games that had I played as a kid, I would have been all over it. Because again, it's Nancy Drew. I like mysteries. I like puzzles. And yeah, so I'm gonna have to give this one a try at some point in time. And now here are two games that I think, if you remember the DS era, these were everywhere and there was no way to get rid of them. And that is the Imagine series. First up, Imagine Animal Doctor. Now this one, I believe, was the better of the two that I have, but that doesn't mean it was a good game. See, why didn't I give my younger cousin one of these? I don't understand. But this was one of the first of the two to come out, along with the other one that I have next. And I know this was an attempt by Ubisoft to kind of market more towards young girls to start playing video games and stuff like that, which I'm all for the effort, but these games are lame. These games are not fun. They're really ugly, and I didn't have good memories with them. Even as a kid, I was like, this just isn't it. This isn't it. And as I had mentioned with the Pets Dolphins, like there are so many animal games on the DS that it's kind of ridiculous. It was a very oversaturated genre, I feel, and this didn't really do much to stick out for me, but I do believe it was better than the other one, which is Imagine Fashion Designer. So I had never really been into high fashion or fashion in general. I was a really dorky child. But this made me think that I was cool and could be fashionable. But again, I didn't play this very often. I think as a kid I even got stuck because I wasn't making fashionable enough outfits. I don't know. I really don't know. But it made no sense for me, knowing who I was as a kid, to have this game. But I have it. I really do have it. So there's that. I wouldn't get rid of these. These were a part of the garage pile, but now that I have them back in, looking at them and remembering how ridiculous they were, I'm kind of glad that I didn't end up selling them, because all pieces of my video game history. So there you go. Speaking of pets games, we have horses too. Now, I have a confession. I was a horse girl growing up. I took horseback riding lessons, I read books about horses, and I played horse video games, including Pets Horses too, which, again, I don't remember too much about this one. I honestly don't mind the Pets games. Like, they're cheesy, they're really cheesy, but sometimes they were kind of fun, and that's kind of the memory that I have with Pets Horses. I don't think I played much of this one either. It wasn't as glamorous as the horse games that I had for my computer back in the day, but it was still a good thing to have. It also wasn't very long after, I think, getting this game that I was kind of out of the horse phase. I was kind of over horses. Still think they're awesome, still love horses. I was no longer a horse girl. So that's kind of, I think, what happened with this, but again, happy to have it. And now here is the second game that was a part of that weird case bundle, which would have made it my third, fourth DS game overall, and that is Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island. Now, I actually played a lot of this game as a kid, partially because I only had 4 DS games at the time that I got this, but it was really interesting. I was a big fan of all shows. Like, I love Danny Phantom, I love Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob, of course, and I had other SpongeBob and Nickelodeon games before on other consoles, so I was like, it makes sense that I have one on this one too. And I don't think it was anything crazy good, but it was just, you know, it was that Smash Brothers effect of seeing all these different characters from different universes come together in a game, and I really thought it was fun. I thought it was really, really fun. But yeah, I don't think I ever finished it as a kid because I got games that I liked better, but I do have precious memories with this. This was one that was multi-console too, so I think the DS one probably doesn't have the same, I don't necessarily want to say polish, but the same kind of pizzazz that like the home console versions did, but I don't know. I just think it's funny. I think it's funny that of the games that I could have gotten out of that bundle, which I'm pretty sure a lot of them are more shovelware-y like this, that I picked Nicktoons Battle for Volcano Island and Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. I don't know. I don't remember what my other options were at that point in time, but I guess these were the ones that I wanted. And next, a game that I actually completed many, many, many times as a child. Hannah Montana. I played this game so much. This was my 5th DS game. After that, it kind of gets hazy in terms of the orders that I got DS games in, but this was absolutely my 5th DS game. And I was a big Hannah Montana fan. It was the era. It was the era of that time of my life. And I actually had a blast playing this game. I thought it was so fun. It's kind of platformy, kind of mystery. You're looking for clues, walking through, you know, the beach, the mall, all other typical Hannah Montana spots. And it was just so funny. It was so funny how many times I played this game. A lot. I played this game probably like 10 times. But I don't know. I'd wonder how I would feel playing it today. Because it's not a very long game, which I think is why I was able to complete it so quickly, but also I had it down to a science at that point in my life, so I wonder what it would be like to play Hannah Montana to this day. And the final one of this pile is Zoo Tycoon DS. And so I was a big Roller Coaster Tycoon fan as a kid. I played those games all the time, but I had never played Zoo Tycoon in any form. So I figured, you know what, let's pick up the one for the DS. And I had a lot of fun with it. I really just like those kinds of games. Same kind of deal with Pets Horses, where like the games that I had for the PC absolutely superseded the DS ones. So having this portably was still really, really nice. That being said though, I do think this game made me realize that I vastly preferred the Roller Coaster Tycoon games over the Zoo Tycoon games. I don't know, I love animals, but something about roller coasters, it's exhilarating. And so this next pile is miscellaneous first-party, third-party games that I really, really enjoyed growing up. The first one being Scribblenauts. I loved Scribblenauts. I thought it was so fun, and the fact that it was just kind of one of those games that came almost out of nowhere, like, It just seemed so fun. I feel like Scribblenauts really like appealed to a lot of different people. The art style is super cute, and I just thought it was such a creative game, and I really liked Scribblenauts. Is there one for the Switch? I don't think there is. I don't know if the series is still going, but I know there were a few after this. I have the original. I really like it. It's great. It's great. I really liked Scribblenauts. Now next is what I would say is probably one of my favorite games for the system, and not enough people talk about it. And the only thing they ever say about it is that it's weird. And that's Elite Beat Agents. I love this game. I love this game so much. It's so fun. I was a big rhythm game fan as a kid. I still am, though. Despite having a degree in music, I'm not as good at them as I was when I was a kid. You are using your stylus, you're hitting beats as they happen, scrolling. It's so good. It's so good. The songs they picked are wonderful. Like, they exude that part of the 2000s for me, I think, as well as the stories in between each level. Each level in each song has a different kind of story that goes with it that all combine at the end. I love it. The difficulty levels, there's so many different ways to play. You have easy, hard, etc. And it's so fun. I love Elite Beat Agents. I highly recommend picking it up. Like, if you just want a fun DS rhythm game that absolutely uses the touchscreen to its full extent, Elite Beat Agents is great. I recommend it. It's pretty cheap. It's not that expensive of a DS game. I don't know complete how much it's going for, but I've seen it loose for like 10 bucks at local game stores. So I recommend it. I really recommend it. And of course, most people that had a DS had Nintendogs. And so I had the Dalmatian version. I think Nintendogs was actually part of the original motivation for getting that one bad Mario case, is because I think you could get some of the older Nintendogs. And maybe I just didn't because I knew they were coming out with the Dalmatian one and I wanted the Dalmatian one. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. But I played the heck out of Nintendogs. I have not checked on my dogs in forever though, so they're probably really mad or gone. Maybe. Last time I checked, they were still there though. All of them were still there, so they must have really loved me a lot. But I love Nintendogs. I would love to see some kind of real, true successor to it on the Switch or future consoles. I just thought it was so fun. But it's hard because it's hard to emulate what you had to do in this game to really make it work on another console. So as much as I would love to see it on future consoles, I don't know if we ever will, though I'd love it. I loved Nintendogs. I thought it was great. I thought it was so great. And next we have one of the very first DS games that I got, New Super Mario Bros. I don't know many people who have a DS that don't have this in their collection. This was the first 2D Mario that I had ever beaten. Like, I had played Super Mario Bros, Super Mario Bros 2, 3, etc., Super Mario World, but this was the first one that I ever beat. Partially, I think because it was handheld. It made it easier for me to really sit down and get better at the game. And I loved this game. I played the heck of it. I loved learning how to play blackjack with Luigi. Playing the poker mini games was like one of my favorites. And like, Dealer Luigi is an image that is forever imprinted on my mind. But I love New Super Mario Bros. It was so great, and I honestly don't think that even the Wii version or any subsequent version that came out on the Wii U, Switch, whatever, could capture the same magic that this DS one did. So I really liked this game. And next we have, as I mentioned in my Zelda tier list, my least favorite Zelda game of all time, Phantom Hourglass. However, I am still super happy to have this in my collection, especially now because I think this game has shot up in price as well as Spirit Tracks. But I don't need to say much about this game. If you're curious on my thoughts, go watch my Zelda tier list. But it is my least favorite Zelda game. I will say though, Linebeck is one of my favorite Zelda characters. I love him. I think he's hilarious. His theme is great. It's so jaunty. That's like the one piece of good music in Phantom Hourglass. Okay, I need to stop before I go on another rant. But a much better game, in my opinion, is Spirit Tracks. Though some of the mechanics weren't all that they were promised to be, I loved having Zelda in Spirit Tracks. I think that was a really cool addition to the game. And I vastly preferred this game. I thought the dungeons were more interesting, the soundtrack was more interesting. And yeah, I think another thing about Spirit Tracks is, as I mentioned in my Zelda tier list, Phantom Hourglass was a direct successor to Wind Waker, whereas Spirit Tracks, same timeline, but just more removed, so it felt like it could be its own thing. For Phantom Hourglass, because it was directly connected to Wind Waker, which is one of my favorite Zelda games of all time, I think that's maybe why I'm more critical on it. But I do think that this is the better game, in my opinion. But still, I don't know. I'd love to play Spirit Tracks again. Actually, I'd love to play Phantom Hourglass again. It's been so long. So I don't know, a replay of either one of these might be in the works sometime soon. And now, the Harvest Moon collection. I've decided that if I am to collect for any one series, it's gonna be the Harvest Moon Story of Seasons. Harvest Moon DS cute. I love this game. I think this is actually one of my favorite Harvest Moon games. Even though it's not one of the ones that I specifically grew up with, this is one of the ones that I got the most intense with, I feel. Partially because it was so cool because it took the characters from A Wonderful Life and Another Wonderful Life, put it on the DS, and not only that, but because the DS had the GBA slot, if you had Friends of Mineral Town or more Friends of Mineral Town, you pop that in there and all of those characters come into your game too, which I feel like that gave this game the most eligible bachelors and bachelorettes of any other Harvest Moon game. I could be wrong on that, but it was just so cool how much it like widened up the world. You saw all of those characters in a new way on the DS. There was so much fun stuff to do, like petting your animals, which hadn't been a thing at that point in time, so it was kind of a revolutionary thing between Harvest Moon DS and DS Cute. And I love this game. I really think this is one of the better Harvest Moon games, especially handheld Harvest Moon games. There was always something great and special about home console Harvest Moon games, but I really feel like it's a series that lends itself very well to handheld, which I think is why it's perfect for Switch. But this one was just so good. This one was just so good. So I love Harvest Moon DS Cute. I'd love to get actual Harvest Moon DS. I kind of want to get both versions of all games that had the boy-girl split, just because I think it'd be cool to have them all. So that's a goal, is to get the other one. And a less good game, Harvest Moon Island of Happiness. So this, as I mentioned when talking about Sunshine Islands, this was not a great game. This tried to use the touchscreen for the DS in a way that just didn't work, and it was actually one of the same reasons that I had an issue with Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass, is movement by using the stylus and dragging your stylus along the screen. Not only that, but the map was so small for this game that when you were walking, you couldn't really see where you're going, so it was so easy to get lost. I also just thought that the island itself, especially in comparison to Sunshine Islands, was not that appealing to look at. It looked very dull, it looked very unlike Harvest Moon, where Sunshine Islands I think kind of brought it back a little bit while still having that island feel. This one just wasn't as great. It wasn't as great. So yeah, not my favorite Harvest Moon, especially not in comparison to DS Cute, but hey, I have it and I'm happy to have it. All right, so at the same time that I had my DS, my mom had a PSP, which I also kind of used the PSP a lot, but around that time was when I really started to get into Final Fantasy. We had ports of Final Fantasy 1 and 2 on the PSP, and I played the heck out of them. And I wanted to continue playing Final Fantasy, but on my DS. So I picked up Final Fantasy 3. Now, I don't have a ton of memories playing Final Fantasy 3, especially in comparison to the game coming after this, but I do remember really, really enjoying it. It didn't speak to me like other Final Fantasies, and I feel like of the early Final Fantasies, 3 isn't that memorable. I'm sorry, Final Fantasy 3 fans, wherever you might be in this world, but I just didn't think it was super memorable. I honestly don't remember a lot from it. I remember playing it, and I remember playing a lot of it, but I don't remember the story or anything like that. So maybe once I get my Pixel Remaster copy, I'll have to give 3 another try and just see. But that was one thing that I did always kind of like. I don't know if you can see the art in the back, but I really liked the art of Final Fantasy 3, the DS version. I just thought it was really cute. Like, it had a very cute aesthetic. So I liked it a lot. But yeah, so Final Fantasy 3, it was pretty good from what I can remember. But we have the champion of my heart next, which is Final Fantasy 4. Oh. Final Fantasy IV is my favorite Final Fantasy game of all time. I absolutely love it. 6 is the only thing that comes up afterwards, but Final Fantasy IV is incredible. It's the first Final Fantasy that I ever beat. Though I had played 1 and 2, I hadn't beaten 1 and 2. 4 I got before 3, and this was the first one that I ever beat, and I love it. Rydia is my angel. I love her. She's great. And I just thought the story of 4 was so good. Now that I've played other versions where it's the original SNES graphics, I do prefer that as opposed to the kind of clunky 3D character models in Final Fantasy IV for the DS. But the great thing about this is they had like beautifully rendered 3D cutscenes in this game. Like the whole opening, I get chills whenever I think about it because, you know, it's playing the theme, it's beautiful, it's presenting all the characters, and they were gorgeous. They were absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, of course I wish they looked like that in the game, but the DS couldn't really do that for the full the full game. But I really liked it. I'm so happy to have this. I really am. I just love the reflective silver that actually continues onto the pictures of the back too. I don't know, it's just great. I love this game. I love this game. I'm due for a Final Fantasy IV replay really, really soon. Again, that might be a pixel remaster thing though, so we'll see. And my last Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light, which I believe is actually a precursor to the Bravely Default series, which I thought was always really interesting. The art is really similar. I loved this game too. I actually have, this game came with a poster that still hangs in my closet to this very day. It's really ripped, but it shows the four main characters, and I really liked this game. It just felt like a big adventure. This, I think, was honestly one of the last games that I got for my DS, and it was really, really cute. Really nice world, fun class system, like, it was a great game. It was a great game. I'd love to give it another playthrough, because again, I don't really remember the story that much. I remember I really liked the character dynamics between the four party members. I thought they were all interesting, so. And of course, you know, it has your typical Final Fantasy combat, but this really was starting to show the beginnings of what would become the Bravely Default series, especially with the class system and all of that. So, really cool game. And now to one of my favorite series on the console, we've got Professor Layton. Professor Layton and the Curious Village is the first one. This is actually a reproduction box that somebody was super duper sweet to get for me off of my throne wish list, so I can't remember who it was at this exact moment in time, but I appreciate you forever. Curious Village was actually, going back to my grandpa's story, it was his game, so I did not end up with the box for it. I don't know where it is. It might still exist somewhere, but I'm not sure. Or it could have been sold in a garage sale or something like that. So I don't have the original box. I don't have the manuals. I'd love to rebuy the manuals at some point in time too, but that's really hard, I feel, to do sometimes without already buying the box and the game and all of that. Because the Professor Layton games, the DS ones are not very expensive, especially when you compare to them to the 3DS ones. But yeah, Curious Village is great. While it's not my favorite of the entire series, it's the one that started it all. It's the one that, you know, started that really wonderful memory between me and my grandpa and playing this game together. And yeah, so this one will always have a very special place in my heart. Though Diabolical Box is my favorite in the series, this is what I believe to be the best game in the series, and that is Unwound Future. It's so good. Now, I cried during Diabolical Box, and I do every single time once it gets to a certain point in the story. Same deal with this one. I sob at the end of Unwound Future. It's so good. I think the puzzles in this game were just the best they could have been, some of the best in the series, so creative that both fit with the story and were good on their own. I think the minigames in Unwound Future were pretty darn good as well, and just the story, like, it wrapped up the original trilogy of games so well and gave so much background to our beloved Herschel Layton, and I love this game. I love the whole series, but I really, really, really love Unwound Future, so very happy to still have this as well. Finally, of the Layton games that came out on the DS, we have Professor Layton and the Last Spectre. This introduces Emmy as a character. Luke is just now becoming your apprentice, and it's the beginning of the prequel trilogy, which I always thought was kind of cool, but really interesting, because like I had come to really know and love, you know, the original trilogy, and how the original trilogy ends, you know, it doesn't make sense to continue doing a trilogy, so I liked that they brought it back so that Luke could come back and introduce just a really cool character. I love her. I've thought about cosplaying her so many times. I think she's adorable. I think she's a really interesting character, especially in later games. But this is a great one. This also includes London Life, which is kind of a little life sim deal. It's really cute and provides like over 100 extra hours of gameplay, which I thought was so cool. I thought it was so cool. This is the game in the series I've replayed the least. I've replayed the whole series multiple times, but this is the one that individually I've replayed the least, and that includes the 3DS ones as well. So I'd love to go back, give this one another go, but yeah, I liked The Last Spectre. I thought it was pretty good. You're gonna notice a theme with these last two piles, so I hope you're ready for lots and lots of Pokemon. So we're gonna start with Pokemon spin-offs first, because that's the smaller of the two piles, and one of them I can kind of talk about in a big array. But first up, we've got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Darkness. I wanted to be an edgy kid, though I wasn't. As mentioned before, I was a complete dork. So I wanted to get Explorers of Darkness as opposed to Explorers of Time. Most people I knew had Explorers of Time and then Explorers of Sky later on, but I wanted Darkness, because that's edgy, right? But I love this game. These are the Mystery Dungeon games that I played the most of in any part of the series. And I think it also made sense that I got Explorers of Darkness because I had Red Rescue Team on the GBA, and this, you know, it follows the red color scheme. So I would love to give this one a replay. I do think that I would maybe play Explorers of Sky instead, only because I know that between the three, that one's like the penultimate one, but I don't think I'm ever going to be able to pick it up physically. So if I want to play it on OG hardware, I'm gonna have to play Explorers of Darkness, which is okay. It's been years since I've played this game. It's been absolute years, but I just remember having played Red Rescue Team and then going to this, it was like eye-opening. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm playing this game, but it's on the DS, and like I'm gonna put my finger on the DS and it's gonna tell me my personality type. It was incredible. The game itself was great too. I love the story. I love the gameplay of the Mystery Dungeon games. It's great. And yeah, I really love this triad of Mystery Dungeon games, and I have to give Explorers of Darkness another go. Now, this next game started a years-long love of this little spin-off series, and that is Pokemon Ranger. So I recently streamed the original Pokemon Ranger as well, and it was a blast. I played the absolute crap out of this game. So this and New Super Mario Bros. Were the first games that I had on my DS, and I actually got the games before I got my DS. My grandparents had bought them for me, knowing that I was getting a DS, and they were kind of like, oh, well, we can take them back, or you can wait. And I was like, I'm gonna wait. I wanted Pokemon Ranger for so long. So this was the first game that I played. I think I played this one first before New Super Mario Bros., but I was obsessed with this game. Every single Friday I'd come home from school, I would put my DS and my Game Boy Advance cases around my waist, pretend they were my stylers, and I would run around my house and pretend that I was a Pokemon Ranger, and then I'd play the game all night long, and it was so great. I love this series. I love this series. I love this series so much. And if you could ever get your hands on a copy of Pokemon Ranger, I really recommend it. It's just fun. It is Carpal Tunnel the game, but I already have Carpal Tunnel, so it doesn't matter. Now, the only thing better than the original Pokemon Ranger is Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia, which is one of my favorite games of all time, which sounds so funny because it's Pokemon Ranger, right? I feel like Shadows of Almia took everything that was great about Pokemon Ranger and expanded it and added more story to it, more compelling story. This game is a lot longer of a game, and it was just so fun. There were so many different abilities. This game also introduced Sinnoh Pokemon, whereas the original Pokemon Ranger, it was only Pokemon from Gen 1 to Gen 3. This introduced Gen 4 Pokemon, which I love. I absolutely loved. And this game was just so great. It was just so great. The story was so interesting. The characters were great. I loved this game so much that I wrote a fan fiction about it that is still online on fanfiction.net, and it was one of my best fanfics I think I wrote because I was so passionate about the project. But I love this game. I used to replay this game every few months. I've probably played Shadows of Almia like 30, 40 times. Like, I got it down to a point where I could finish it really quickly, and I love this game. I love this game. This is one of my favorite games in my entire DS collection. So then one that I did not play nearly as much, finished, but just didn't replay it, is Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs. So I really liked Guardian Signs, but I feel like it wasn't as big of a step as Shadows of Almia was. I feel like it still had everything that made Pokemon Ranger great, but it didn't have as compelling of characters and stories. I didn't like the Guardian Sign mechanic. I thought that it was kind of weird, and partially, again, maybe it goes back because I can't draw, but it didn't feel as satisfying to play through as Shadows of Almia. It's still a good game. It's still a good game. It didn't mean as much to me, I think. So, still happy to have the whole triad of games on the DS, but I did like Ukulele Pichu though. Ukulele Pichu's adorable. Like, look at that buddy. So cute, so cute. All right, and now we are on to the mainline Pokemon games, which is also the last stack. So, first up, we have Pokemon Diamond. This is my most played Pokemon game of all time. I love Pokemon Diamond. It's not my favorite. That spot still remains to Pokemon Emerald, but Pokemon Diamond was the game that I played with friends all the time. Every single person that I knew had Pearl or Diamond. We were playing, we were trading, we were hanging out in the underground in our secret bases, and I loved this game. I absolutely love this game. I still have my original team on here. I've never once restarted Pokemon Diamond. So I have my original team. Everything is as it was as I was a child, and I think that's really special. Like, I don't think I would do that now so much with newer Pokemon games. I don't have as much, strong emotions tied to resetting if I want to replay the whole game. But this is one that I'm so glad that I never restarted. I kept my same team. All of that work I put into it. A very strong Empoleon in this game, and I took out the Elite Four exclusively using Empoleon. My older cousin was like, no, we're gonna have you beat this the right way. And so kind of showed me almost how to play Pokemon super duper well. And I was good for a while, and then I kind of let all those skills fall to the wayside. But Diamond is the game that I spend the most time on, really learning how to play Pokemon, more about abilities and moves and stuff like that. And he just sent me home with a list of what I needed to do for every single Pokemon. And I think I still have that somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I know I have it somewhere. And I don't know, this is just a really special one for me. So I love Pokemon Diamond. But it's not complete without Pokemon Pearl as well. Now, this is funny. So my mom bought me this game, I think not realizing that it was the same as Diamond. She just knew it was Pokemon, wanted to get me a Pokemon game, so she got me Pokemon Pearl. And this game, I've beaten Pokemon Pearl as well, but this is the game that I would lend to my friends who didn't have Pokemon games so they could experience Pokemon, because there was no way I was letting go of Diamond. But I was like, you know what, I'll give them Pearl, see how it goes. And surprisingly, despite being scorned many other times in my life from friends that, you know, borrowed games and never gave them back, everybody always gave back Pokemon Pearl. I don't know why, but I was really, really lucky in that regard. So this is great. There's also, this case feels so super duper heavy. And I think there's a poster in here, which, oh, it's a Battle Revolution poster. I do want to show this off. I think this is cool. Yep, Pokemon Battle Revolution. Oh, I'm so happy I still have this. And then on the back it shows a bunch of other things, the card games, Battle Revolution, Pokemon Ranger and Temple of the Sea. I loved that movie. Stayed up all night when that when that movie came out on Cartoon Network. Oh, I love that I have this. I absolutely love that I have this. Actually, this is a wonderful memory. So the DS Wi-Fi connection, you could buy a little a little microphone so you could talk to your friends. I remember that advertised so much. I don't know, there's just something really, really special about this era of Pokemon. I remember the Pokemon Diamond and Pearl website where you could like go on there and there'd be like a daily news story about Pokemon. This is my favorite era of Pokemon, is the Gen 4 kind of time, and it was just crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And next we have a special one, Pokemon Platinum. So I also still have the cardboard box that this version came in. So we've got this. It's a little scuffed up. And yeah, I was right. It's Origin Form and Sky, Giratina, and Shaman respectively. I'm so happy I kept this box. Like, I had a problem where I tried to keep every box that I could for my games, including my GBA ones, and then they all ended up getting thrown out at some point in time. So I protected this box with my life. And there's still stuff in here. I think probably just manuals, but yep, I've got another Platinum manual, DS, and there's also old packaging for Pokemon cards. Majestic Dawn, another Majestic Dawn, and oh yes, Dragon Frontiers. Oh man, that's nostalgic. I'm glad I have these too. I used to do that with all of my Pokemon cards, but those ones are special. Those ones are special. I think I must have just stowed those away in there. That's awesome. But so Platinum is still the ultimate of that trilogy, I believe. It just takes everything that was great about Diamond and Pearl, expands on it, makes it wonderful, and it is what I will forever wish that BDSP actually was just a remake of Platinum, because it added so much. One, the characters were expanded on a little bit more, the story was there, you had more legendaries, you had more stuff to do. I loved Platinum. I really, really did. I think if I were to play another game of Gen 4, it would be Platinum. It'd be Platinum every time. But I love it. I love it. I'm so happy I have all three of them. That's like one of my biggest accomplishments, I think, is having all three of that trilogy. And the box, So great. All right, and another one that I do have the original box for, but we'll get there in a second, is Pokemon Soul Silver, the best way to play Gen 2 games, in my humble opinion. Now, I borrowed Crystal from a friend growing up. So I had already played Crystal all the way through by the time Soul Silver came out. But this was the first time that I actually owned anything Gen 2 related, despite it really actually being Gen 4. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. And I've always liked Lugia. I always liked Lugia better than Ho-Oh. So I got this one. I did not get the pre-order bonus, so I don't have the little Lugia statue, but I do still have the original box. This one is in much better condition. much better condition. And I have my Pokewalker, which came with it, which I thought the Pokewalker functionality was so strange. I did carry it around with me all the time, and it sits on my bookshelf by my DS collection all the time. But Soul Silver, I think, is great. I think it is one of the best made Pokemon games that there is. Again, it expands on Gen 2, brings it to modern consoles, and it was so great. Having Pokemon follow you, which, you know, might not seem like a crazy deal now, but with this, it was like every kid's dream, I feel, is to have your favorite Pokemon follow behind you. Again, Gen 2, it's one of my favorite generations of Pokemon. I love the story, I love the gyms, I love the music, oh my gosh. Gen 2 music is incredible. I feel like it's really underrated, to be honest, but I love Generation 2. It also has, you know, my favorite Pokemon, Umbreon, there we go, and Wooper. Oh my gosh, we've got a whole bunch of Gen 2 Pokemon. We've got Wooper, we've got Umbreon, those two don't matter, and Azumarill. Yeah, so I really like Gen 2 Pokemon, but Soul Silver is great. Very, very happy to have this one, especially with how hard it is to find. It's great. And now we have the game where I was kind of starting to fall out of Pokemon for a little bit, which was cruel of me to do because this is another favorite. It's another great one, Pokemon White. So I didn't want Pokemon White version. I wanted Pokemon Black version because I wanted Reshiram, but this was the only one that they had. And I remember starting it and really enjoying it, but I wasn't super into it. I just wasn't really into it at all. And which is hilarious because this game is so big. This game is so big and so interesting. And it did things that Pokemon games hadn't really done before. Like, again, a very cohesive story with a villain with motives and stuff like that weren't just like, I'm going to kidnap every Pokemon. Which, you know, Gen 3 and Gen 4 were different, but like this felt like an actual story. And I just really liked it. The characters were likable. Your rivals were so interesting in the paths that they chose. And also, I just thought the world of Unova was so cool. Like, it was modeled after New York, and it had never been that big before in a Pokemon game. And I thought it was really, really cool. So I came back to Pokemon White years later, and I played it at work, I think. My whole opinion on the game was changed. It's one of my favorites. And I'm really, really glad that I didn't try to get rid of this. I've never been the person to really get rid of games, but there have been times where I've thought about it or giving it to a friend, and I feel like Pokemon White would have been one that I would have given away, so I'm really glad that I didn't and got to fully experience it to its fullest extent. And last but not least is what I believe to be one of the last DS games that I ever bought for myself. Any other games that I got afterwards were gifts, and it's slowly creeping on screen. Pokemon Black 2. Now, I wanted to swap it up and get Black 2 as opposed to White 2, and I kind of regret that. I think it would have made a lot more sense to, like, keep the two going, but I don't care. I'm really happy to have this one too, because it expands so much on what White and Black did and just makes it an even better story, and it's a perfect sequel. It's a great sequel to those games too. You see characters aged up, which hadn't happened before. I remember being extremely confused when instead of a third version, they did sequels. And I'm really glad they made that choice, and I wish that they would do that again. I really, really do. I think it was so interesting, and it was just a whole new look on the world. Like, things had changed. There were new areas that were developing towns, stuff like that. I've been having a great time watching Chugga Conroy's playthrough of Black 2 and White 2, and it's made me really nostalgic for this game, so I'm gonna have to play it again sometime soon. But it's great. It's so great. And also, you have freaking Pokestar Studios, which is hilarious. Like, there's so much extra stuff in this game that Black and White didn't have, and I don't know. I think it's a great game. A really, really great game. So I have to give this a replay sometime soon. Oh my gosh, we made it through all of them. I feel like even though this is a smaller collection than my Switch collection was at the time that I did that collection video, I feel like I talked a lot more about the memories associated with each one of these games, and I'm so full of nostalgia. I love the Nintendo DS, and it's the system that, while I'm going to start doing more retro collecting for, it's the one that I'm going to focus on the most, because I have so many good memories with the system, and there were so many titles that I missed out on. Like, there are some very obvious ones that I don't have, like Mario Kart DS, Mario Party DS, stuff like that, and also, you know, other games like Radiant Historia, which is a game I've always wanted to play. So I want to keep growing my DS collection, which is a strange thing, and I never thought I'd be saying it in the year 2023, but I really do. That's what I've got so far as of this date, and yeah, I hope to continue to grow it when my wallet allows. But I hope you all really liked this video. This was great. I feel all warm and fuzzy inside now talking about DS games. But let me know, what are some of your favorite Nintendo DS games? I'd love to know, or what are some that I should be looking for as my collection continues to grow? I'd love some suggestions to see if there are any games that I missed. That would be a really good thing to add to my collection. Anyways, everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, maybe like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd super appreciate it. Lots more videos coming soon. I say that all the time, but it's always true. Until next time, everybody, goodbye!